Hey guys, it's Olivia. Are you following us on Instagram? We're at Culture Club ATL on Instagram. Check us out. I know you watching.
What if it's too hard?
I'm gonna push through.
What if it's too rough?
I'm gonna push through.
What if it's too tough?
I'm gonna push through.
What if you're just too young?
That's not true.
What if you're not good enough?
That's not true.
Why? Because
I can do anything I put my mind to.
I believe in you.
Head up.
Believe in yourself.
Head high.
Tell me why.
We push through anything we put our minds to.
That part.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning into A Connection TV, the one channel on YouTube where we actually adopt similar connections despite our differences, and welcome to Culture Club. Like we do on every episode, we are going to reintroduce ourselves from our left to our right. State your name and your favorite color.
Hello everyone, my name is Olivia and my favorite color is blue.
Hi, I'm Levi Eric, and my favorite color is green.
Ooh, smart.
I hate picking favorites.
Hi, my name is David, and my favorite color is red.
That's why we're so opposite.
That's why.
Yes.
Hot and cold.
Yes.
What's going on, world? I am Wesley, and my favorite color is blue.
You tried.
She is up this morning.
Okay.
Hey world, my name is Chris, and I don't have a favorite color.
Interesting.
No, it changes.
Okay.
Mine too.
Why am I
I'm
not
only the favorite.
surprised?
What's going on? I'm Larry. My favorite color is blue also.
All right, for the blues. So before we get into all of these topics today, we have a variety of topics that we're going to talk about in this onslaught of episodes that we're going to record. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. We have shifted our day of recording and our time of recording. And before all the rumors start, the reason why Dantes is not here is because he's probably knocked out somewhere. I don't know. It is early morning. So Larry has decided to join us today. Thank you for that, sir. You may remember him from the first Atlanta version of Culture Club a while back.
But it sounds like somebody that's young, that's confused, and that's the thing I feel like with media period right now, with what they portray gay men as. They feel like I have to act a certain way, I have to dress a certain way, I have to be a certain way. No, you don't have to be a certain way. You can be you. You can do you. I mean, you can play basketball. You can like sports. You can.
There's no poster child for gay.
No, go swim.
I don't think it's the same as like when I was coming up though, because they're definitely doing it a lot younger than I was when I was coming up. When I was in middle school and high school, you didn't see that like that.
Right.
But now, like, you see it everywhere. You see it in elementary school, you see it in middle school, you see it in high school, and they are more accepting of it. There's still people that do not accept it, but when I was coming up, it was like you stayed away from the ones that were out or the ones that were
we have those
comfortable.
thoughts,
Right.
we still stay
Yeah,
away.
but it was like when I came up, if you hung around the gay people, it was like social suicide. Like if somebody came out, it was like you could not communicate with that person.
Yeah.
And that one was pretty heated. It was, we had some various varying opinions on the bed because we had like a slumber party pajama theme. So I'm sure it'll be pretty interesting getting into these topics. What I need you guys to do is follow everyone on their social media, and we need you guys to really share, retweet, Facebook, all of the Culture Club videos. The playlist for Culture Club will be right below as well. And if you guys are in or around Atlanta later this year, probably Halloween, I don't know, I'm thinking Halloween time, I do want to do a live panel discussion for Culture Club where we can have a live audience. So we need you guys to support that as well. Charlottesville has been really big in the media, in the news, and it's been causing a lot of discussion to happen amongst a lot of individuals. And so because it is a current event that's going on, we decided that we'd talk about it. So, not all at once, but what are your feelings about Charlottesville? Let's start with David.
The violence needs to stop.
Really? That's what you got. That's what you got.
So does anybody know why this whole Charlottesville started? Why? What happened? Who created it? Where did it come about? What's going on?
I mean, I guess it started with the alt-right movement, and it's been building from there, which was a fringe internet collective of extreme right side conservatives, that some of which are racist, homophobic, transphobic. So yeah, it really started on like internet threads and message boards, and it built up from there to become an actual like outspoken collective of people from these hate groups, the KKK, the neo-Nazis, the 3%ers, and over the past number of years, because it's been like a slow growing movement, it just came up to this point where they had a Unite the Right rally, which was a coming together in person for the first time to make themselves publicly known, and they try to sell it as like a peaceful rally.
With the tiki torches.
and the weapons, because I believe some of them were carrying weapons as well, which is very interesting.
Well, let's be clear. Okay, so to jump off of what Levi was saying, we've had KKK rallies and alt-right rallies for years and years and years. This is nothing new. The difference is that this is the perfect storm. Charlottesville was a perfect storm of what has been happening in this country for years. So it's now that we have who we have in the president's seat, where it is make America great again and all of that rhetoric that has made this movement more bold. So a lot of people look at Charlottesville and they're like, oh, okay, well, what just happened? And no, this was the perfect storm. What has happened is that there's been a lot of noise around getting a lot of these statues that are on our college campuses and are around our cities of people who were big in the Confederacy, who have now become, you know, these big statues, and we kind of look towards, and I kind of go like, but I don't understand why we're celebrating the losing team. That is like us going into Germany and having a statue of Hitler.
Yeah.
Right.
That is how people need to really look at it.
Right.
Like, the Confederacy kind of lost. They're the losers. You know, they're not part of the American thread. The United States of America, the Union, was not the Confederacy. Like, that's why a lot of these, you know, alt-right groups, I don't understand your position, because you're like, this is American. No, that's not American. That was the losing side.
That's actually anti-American.
Exactly.
Because they wanted to break up the union. So therefore it doesn't make sense to celebrate these people to me either. And I agree with you that this is, there has been no starting point since the conception of this country. This has been boiling, because it's if you look back, white supremacy is the issue it's threaded throughout our culture in America. You have our Constitution, where African Americans weren't even a whole person. You know, we weren't even considered a person. So we're coming from this place of, I don't know, trying to protect something that is so sacred, but at the same time, it was just wrong. It was built on people who stole land from people who already inhabited the land that was helpful to those people, and then as soon as they saw their weaknesses, they took advantage and took their land, and then built a country, which is our country now. And yes, we have great things happening in the United States, and I have a problem with Make America Great Again, because it's the Americas. North America, Canada is a part of America, Mexico is America, Brazil is in America, you know, so we lose sight of reality because of what we've been taught, which is wrong, and it's based on white supremacy.
Yeah, I think what's really profound about what's happening in Charlottesville now is when you think about, as Olivia said, the president that we have in office, who didn't denounce these groups who were coming and showing up to his rallies, to showing up to his speeches, that he was saying you won't be forgotten again, and he was playing into all of those things for votes. And whether or not, because Trump is just crazy, whether or not he was actually operating from that level of mentality.
He was, because his daddy was.
Okay, he was facilitating that group to kind of grow and come together. And so now that they're out here and they're saying we're running on Trump's promises, and the fact that Trump is not distancing himself from that is kind of frightening, because you kind of like you're picking at an old wound, and it's kind of it's feeling fresh air again. It's feeling like there's a certain promise to it. And I keep trying to tell myself that, eventually, because you look at young kids and the new generation coming up, and they are so inclusive, for the most part. And far beyond what it was like when I was growing up. And I want to continue to believe that that's eventually going to be the tide of America. Just as Obama has said, that change takes a long time, and that there's going to be setbacks and things of that nature. But to see it manifest itself in such a violent way, to see it not really get the attention that it deserves until they kill a white woman, Well,
hold on now. No shade. Love everybody at this table. Love all of my friends and such. But now I'm calling out some people. This was going on the Friday before your birthday, Wes. I spoke to about maybe 3 people who actually knew what the ham sandwich, what the hell was going on. It didn't just pop up and nobody. The day of your pool party, I'm like, oh my God, do you see what's going on in Charlottesville? Huh? All the people that I knew was like, huh? What? Huh? What? Then, so it was there, it was out. I don't really subscribe to giving, certain news outlets my eyeballs. I give certain news outlets my eyeballs, and even them, I'm just kind of like, propaganda. But CNN was reporting it. I definitely watch, most of my news is international and UK news, because I feel like I'm gonna get more real stuff. But we don't look at our own timelines, because there were enough of us, the wokest, who were trying to say, yo, you see what's popping off? And it took too long for us to be about that life. So don't say it's because of the white girls, because we just not focusing, because the information was out there, we just didn't care enough. No shade, just gonna put that out there. Just doing it. I'm doing it.
All right, no shade.
I mean, honestly, I'll respond to that. I don't watch the news. I'm tired of watching the news. I'm tired of, and in my perspective, I'm tired of seeing black people get beat up by cops. I'm tired of seeing black people get killed. Every time I turn on the news, that's what I've been seeing. So I don't watch the news. And so when I was sitting right next to her when she's like making these grunts and oh my God, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? Cause mind you, I just want to enjoy my birthday. I just want to have a good time at the pool. So she's like, look at this, and I'm seeing like all these white people gathered around, and she's like, this is happening right now in Charlottesville, and I can't believe I'm not there, and oh my God, and I'm like, okay, did this just start? I'm confused, and she's already wrapped into the 5 hours that this been, and I'm just like, well, food is right over here, and, we're waiting for people to come to the pool party. So yeah, I mean, and I feel like that's kind of crazy that I could be that way, because I'm just used to something happening in the United States of America. It's just always something happening. Not to say like that makes it okay, but when can I just take a chill pill and just relax for a second before I have to worry about, can I walk outside, or can I, you know what I'm saying? Even with the whole issue with us possibly being bombed and, oh my God, I gotta look up now to see if a plane's gonna come across. Like, do we really want to live like that?
The older I get, the more that I kind of feel a little, I feel guilty sometimes about not really doing as much as I possibly can. I mean, there's so many different ways that we can be a part of the process, and I think that it's, sometimes a bit of a disrespect to the people who have thrived on the bit of liberties that we have had and made sacrifice. I always say that you know, we come from sacrifice, so we have to sacrifice. You know, it's part of being proud of your heritage, being proud of your lineage. And we have mediums, we have a lot more freedom to say what we're going to say. We can support certain individuals in their movements and initiatives. And I find, you know, myself like feeling like, well, I have to really be outraged. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it has,
Why are you not outraged?
I am outraged, but what I'm trying to say is that we don't always act. Sometimes we do have moments where it's like it's our birthday, or you know, we're just like, you know, just not today. Like it's always something going on. I'm just not going to watch the news. I'm not going to watch the side of the story, their initiative that doesn't really support what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to really put myself into that because I get it. I mean, energy is contagious. You know what I'm saying? And you can't destroy it, you know what I'm saying? So you can only transfer it, and sometimes you get overloaded. But at a certain point, I think that we do have to start trying to figure out who we want to support, start looking behind the brands, behind the CEOs and things of that nature, and start putting our money where our best interest is and the best interest of the country is.
I mean, I agree with you. I think when I think about like the civil rights movement, that was really like maybe 1 or 2 generations ago. So you think about like the Native Americans say it takes about 7 generations to make change. So we kind of have to take the ball from there and kind of work what has been left for us, because you think about 1960 was like 50 years ago. So people who were living then are still living now. Those same people who were like not letting my grandmother ride the bus, or my mom couldn't use a certain water fountain, they're still alive. They're CEOs, they are bosses, they are people we work with and see every day. So these things, their beliefs are still there, they're just hidden. So we kind of have to pick up the torch almost and move forward. I mean, and it's not going to be everybody, and everybody isn't going to support in the same way. Some people are going to be more active and more woke, and then some people are going to be more so like you say, well, I just won't spend my money. Oh, Uber works with the current presidency, I won't catch Uber anymore, I'll do Lyft. I mean, we can make differences in our own ways. I feel like it's important to not isolate or ostracize each other, and just try to figure out how we can help each other understand what role we can play in the movement together and move forward.
I agree with all of those different initiatives. I think the thing that is most important is that we have to be informative. We really definitely, regardless of whatever way you stay, whatever lane you want to be in, you gotta know something. You gotta know what the hell is going on. And we're at that moment right here, right now, where I'm going to say it, that yes, when it comes to the civil rights movement, and what we're going through right now, we all need to be woke. And I'm gonna need for you and your brothers and sisters to be extra more woke, because y'all gotta get your cousins. Cause y'all gotta get your cousins.
Not your friends, your cousins.
For real, I feel like that is more impactful. That really helps to open up and open the minds, because we can sit there and scream and shout all we want, but this system, the thread of the racism starts and ends with white folk. No shade. It does. It's a system that basically benefits white privilege. And y'all gotta take that privilege and do something.
Well, there were quite a few white people that were actually going against the white people that were marching.
Yes,
so,
yes.
I mean, it is out there.
I know, I said we need some more,
and, you know, a lot of the videos that I saw, like, they were brawling out there.
Yeah.
And white people were a part of taking down the Confederate statues and the Confederate flags and all of that. So I'm not gonna, I don't know, I want you to make sure that you let them know that we're not saying all white people aren't helping, because they're all.
I'm not saying that, I'm saying we need more white people to help more. And what you're doing, I need you to do more. So that's great. More.
How do you feel about Donald Trump being forced to make that statement? Did you hear his statement when he was like, you know?
Why are we listening to? I don't give him my eardrums. Why? We know what he wants and what he's thinking and what he's saying. Why are people still giving Donald Trump their eardrums? I'm expecting him to say some foolery. Why aren't you?
Okay, I have a question. Well, after I make the statement, I was actually yesterday. I was like outside of Barnes and Nobles, and I just got done studying. I was walking across the street, and there were I was in a college area, and there was 2 white college students who were talking. And I walked in on the part where I was passing, and they were talking about white nationalism. And one of them was like, "No, it's not going to work." And then one of the guys was just like, "Oh, I mean, it definitely could, if they achieve the ideal, which is to, remove all of the," and I'm thinking this is happening right here now. I don't know if y'all know, but I'm from DC, okay? Apart from Trump, we real progressive. Right after he got elected, we rolled down a banner that said "Resist" right beside the White House. Like, it's a very collective, very, very, yes, it's very, very collective, and if you say some mess like that, somebody is going to correct you. So I had the breath within my lungs, but I said, let me be quiet because I'm in Georgia, and I don't, necessarily.
But you was in Atlanta.
Yes.
Speak your truth.
No, let me tell you something. Like, I haven't really encountered this type of blatant. Just the fact, first of all, the fact that the conversation was happening and I was right there, you know what I'm saying? I felt to a certain degree, it's been legitimized to the point that conversation can be had while you're walking down the street, because just a few years ago, you start saying some shit like that. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Mm-hmm. So my question is, I don't have, most of my friends are black. Most of my friends, you know what I'm saying, aren't white, apart from Levi. And I wanted
the one white friend.
I wanted to know, Levi, do you have any friends or cousins or family members who are just on the other side of that conversation, and how does that make you feel? And does that bring about anything in you, at least in thought at this point? Because with everything that's going on, how do you deal with that? Or
well, I grew up in the country of North Carolina, so I am definitely familiar with it. I grew up surrounded by racism in my distant family, in my school setting. It was blatantly everywhere. And I was lucky enough to somehow be woke as a young child. I was able to immediately, I was raised really well by my parents as a strong Christian, and I had a really good upbringing in that regards, that, I was a good person with a good moral compass, and I was immediately able to see and recognize the racism around me. But it took a while longer to realize the racism within me. That even though I was woke as a child, growing up in that and just having that, as part of my education, as part of my social education, socialization, yeah, there was some racism in me, some prejudices, just because, I grew up around it, and I was always told these things, or I saw black people or people of color portrayed in this way, or treated this way. It took a while to recognize that, because even though I was actively fighting against racism, actually caused a rift in my family when I was 15 or 16. I got off work, and it was around Christmas time, and I was driving past my grandma on my way home, and saw that my aunt and uncles were there, so I stopped by, and they were making these little Christmas treats that we made every year. And my cousin wanted to go to prom with a black guy. And this was the conversation that I walked into, that they weren't letting her go because he was black. And something triggered me to say something. And you know, I was young and emotional, so the way that I said it wasn't necessarily in the most, you know, gracious way. But I basically was like, what is this? Some type of KKK shit. I think that was the exact quote, actually. And then I just kind of went off. My whole family like started arguing with me, like amongst themselves. One of my uncles kind of like threatened to kick my ass, which then like I like went home like crying and told my parents, and that caused like them to get mad at them for like threatening to kick my ass, and it was just like a whole thing, and it was right before Christmas, and it was fucking horrible. But that was like, I guess, the point in my life where I like knew that I stood against racism.
I just feel like it's important. We have a very diverse panel, and I think it's important to kind of paint the picture a little bit. And like I was saying, I don't want to press you about it, but what I do want, if you can share, like, what are the conversations that, like the conversation that I had a tidbit of hearing, you know what I'm saying, that people take, that are able to take place because they don't know that you're woke, or they don't know, you know, how you personally feel, you know, they just, well, he's white, so I can have this conversation, you know, just as much as sometimes when I'm around gay people, I'm like, I can be like this or have this conversation. So what is the conversation? Like, what was the argument, or are the arguments a lot of times when people are saying, no, you can't go to prom with a black person, or, you know, these are the reasons why I feel like white nationalism is ideal, or you know, like what are the arguments?
Well, luckily, since high school, I really haven't been in that environment at all. Okay. I've never had that conversation with someone that was like promoting white nationalism, and I've never ever heard that conversation between two white people since like I was younger. But I actually ended up watching a video by Richard Spencer, who's one of the white nationalists that's more on the educated, politically smart, scary, convincing side. And I watched some of his speeches, and I caught myself like thinking, well, that kind of makes sense. Or like, okay, like I see what he's saying, I see like where he's coming from, but I'm able to recognize that the place that it's coming from is a place of like deep racism and hate. Yeah. And while they twist it so much, the mind is a powerful thing. Yeah. Like they twist what comes from, and when I say they, I'm talking about white nationalists or extreme racists. In their mind, they're not wrong. They deeply believe that his belief, Richard Spencer's, is that white people and black people inherently hate each other. They're never going to be able to live along in peace and harmony, so the best thing to do is to separate them. So the whites live here, the blacks live here, there's no drama because they're separate. And I'm like, okay, like, yeah, that's a way to solve racism, is you could do it that way. But to me, that's like, but why?
But is that a
why
way
do you
to
have to
solve
do
racism?
that?
Because it's not, because
like,
what happens is the white population still maintains the power. So solving racism is getting rid of the power structure. So the whole idea, I get the self-preservation part, that's what probably makes sense to you, is because we all naturally want to survive, and we want our offspring to survive and be successful. So self-preservation is a part of racism, but the part that's tricky is the power. So I can't buy a house here because you hate black people. I don't hate white people. So because you hate black people, you feel like I can't buy a house here because it's better to keep us apart. But if that's not my belief, if I don't feel the way you feel, then how can you say that? Because there's plenty, like, and I'm the diversity coordinator at my job, which is so interesting. We watched which I work with a majority white population, and we watched the documentary, I'm Not Racist, Am I? And it shows you how, just like you're saying, from your upbringing and other people's upbringing, they have this self-preservation that's taught to them, but they have these thoughts of like, if I see two black men walking down the street, like you saw those two white men, you would cross the street because they are dangerous. Where you walk on the same side of the street because you don't feel like there's a danger.
So I'm gonna piggyback off of that documentary. That title resonated in me because at one point in my life, I didn't want to be around black people, and I wanted all black people that fit a specific ghetto stereotype to be killed immediately on sight.
Oh my God!
And it was really bad because for 2 weeks I was like traumatized to the thought. But then, you know, I understood how white people felt to a certain degree, where they don't want to be around black folks, and the reason why is because. Two black men came into my apartment and held me hostage and had a gun and threatened to kill me and bounded me up and threw me in my bathroom and blah, 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 blah. Some of y'all, if y'all follow me, y'all already know the story. But after that ordeal happened, I was traumatized. And in my head, all I saw was black folks doing this to another black folk. And so I was angry and I was disgusted, and I was like, this is why a white lady decides to cross the street when three stereotypical looking black dudes approach her. This is why white people don't like black people. Like I just started understanding.
I cannot.
But I'm gonna finish. Because it's my story, and I think it's important that everybody understands that it could be another person's story. Suffice it to say, I don't feel as bad as I used to feel now, obviously, because I'm amongst a diverse group of people right now, and I try to live the life of adopting similar connections despite our differences. But I'm still a little tainted by that whole ordeal. And I don't know what I'm gonna do to completely get rid of it, but I do feel some sort of way when I'm in the mix of that stereotypical ghetto hood type of black folk. And it's just not gonna go away because of what they did to me. And because of that, because of me going through that experience, no one can tell me that I shouldn't feel that way. So it is what it is.
I'm gonna validate. Excuse you.
I haven't even wet yet.
Right, you don't get to go.
No.
You don't get to go. You don't get
This
to go.
buzzer is for you.
No.
This is for you.
So
hold on.
I would like to respond.
Hold on.
I would like to respond.
Because yeah, Olivia did try to chime in first.
Exactly.
So let her say her piece.
Appreciate you. Thank you. I'm going to validate your experience and say that what you went through, you have all rights to your feelings of how you were victimized. And I'm also going to say that we are talking about a little bit of a difference, because first, you cannot be racist because you do not have the power structure to allow yourself to be allowed to be racist. That's one. Two, so you can be prejudiced, but that's kind of difficult, and that's a whole different topic. Two, let's recognize, more often than not, the reason why you were victimized by a ghetto person or whatever is because we have been designed to live in this environment where black people, or the others, I'm not even just saying black people, are not provided an appropriate amount of resources. So that's education resources, that's money, that's housing, that's so many different things that allow for you to be in an environment whereby you will have that kind of experience. You will have ghettos, you will have us pulling at each other because we are fighting for resources that have not been afforded to us. So it creates an environment where those people are reacting and can be as animalistic because we're fighting to get a little piece of something. We're surviving. That is one part of it. The second part of it, let's look at the magnificence of not having resources, but look, we still have been these amazing beings. I mean, have you had chitlins before? Have you had like fried chicken? All of the things that we've been able to do with a limited amount of resources, we've still been able to make some magic happen from that. I am sorry that you've had that experience, You should not have had that experience regardless, and I understand why that experience has happened to you and happens to a lot of our brothers and sisters in our neighborhoods, because we don't have the resources, because it was meant for us not to have those resources, so it continues to play into this narrative that we're animalistic, we crazy, we do too much. So how you gonna raise your hand in the middle of me?
Because you buzzed the buzzer in the middle of me talking, so at least I'm being polite and raising my hand.
Okay, honey.
I understand everything that you're saying, but I don't subscribe to that. And the reason why I don't subscribe to that, giving reasoning behind that type of behavior is, I will just never do that. I will just never do that. And I'm actually happy. The only thing that I'm happy about is that I don't continue to feel that way every single day of my life. Because when I tell you my ideas and thoughts of what I wanted to do to my fellow brothers and sisters was really, really like, and it was terrible, because the job that I had at the time, everybody was black. And it was like maybe like 15-20% Hispanic. And when I tell you I could not go to work, I could not go to work.
So you're not mad at the power structure that created the being that made you feel this way, but you mad at them. You mad at the people who are victims as well, but you're not mad at the power structure. I just don't understand that. So it's like you're not mad at the environment, but you're mad at the people.
I'm going to explain it. Okay. The reason why I'm not mad at the power structure is because at that particular time, I was a salaried individual getting paid over $80,000 a year. Didn't go to college. And I came from Bowles Park. If you live in Hartford, is like run down to the rundown.
You're the exception. You're not the rule. You're not the standard.
But what I'm saying, I say that to say this: if I can do it, all of those people that just no. All of those people that decide to just sit on the corner and drink 40s can do it as well.
That's not true because you had, though you came from the projects, you had people who made a difference in your life, who pushed you to that point. You had opportunities, like she's saying, the resources, the opportunity. There's not as many opportunities for African American people, and that's honest, because I can speak to this because I got shot in both of my legs by 2 African American men, and I don't feel that way because I know that, yes, I'm privileged. I'm privileged as a gay black man. I'm still more privileged than some straight black men. I'm still more privileged than some people because I've had opportunities afforded to me. So I have to take my privilege and help those people who don't have the privilege that I have, instead of looking at them and saying, well, I did it, you can do it. Because it's not true. It's not true. Some people can't walk into their job and tell them that they're marrying a man because they will be ostracized. Just like he can't walk into his family and say, you should be able to go to the prom with a black man without a fight ensuing. That is fear-inducing. So therefore, you repress those feelings, and that is a mental fuck is what you call it, because mentally you're like, I feel this way and I should stand up, but I'm scared of what's gonna happen. I should do something different, but I'm scared what's gonna happen. He's walking down the street. Now these 2 white men are talking about this conversation around a black person that is offensive to a black person and don't give a fuck about how he feels. But yet he feels like, I can't say this because they might respond in a certain way. Do you see how that's like a mental thing where, like, if you read the Willie Lynch letters, you can see how this is a process, a mental process that's been for years. And our parents pass it down to us, who pass it down to the next, who pass it down to the next, just like racism is passed down.
So
that was sexy.
That was really good.
That was good.
So basically, what are we saying? Are we saying that?
What we're saying.
I pressed the button. I just want to say one thing really fast. Like, one quick thought is that we should stop putting skin color onto violence. Because violence is violence is violence. There's white on white crime, white on black crime, black on black, black on white. You know, I don't think it comes down to your skin color. If you grew up in a neighborhood, a black neighborhood, you're more likely to be physically assaulted by a black person because
it's true.
If I grew up, most of the violence that happened in my life, which I'm lucky enough to have been very little, has been from white people. I grew up surrounded by white people. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Yeah. Valid, very valid.
David, you wanted to say something?
I basically agree with everyone. That's why.
How you gonna agree with everyone? We got diverse opinions here. You're like, I agree with everyone.
That sounds like somebody who ain't know what the fuck.
Can I finish? Damn.
Everyone
everyone except Wes, you can't take an experience like that and say all black people deserve this now because, or a group of black people, like it could have been anybody, it could have been a white person, Latino, Asian, whoever the fuck felt like robbing you that day. Not to sound insensitive, but it is what it is. Like, you can't take that experience and say all black people that fit this description will do this to me, or I see why white people treat black people this way. It's kind of unfair and it's a little disheartening. I'm sorry that you went through something that intense, that you felt like that for even like 2 seconds, because that's like, it's just like a blind way of thinking. It's just like blind. That can only come from like anger and hurt and trauma.
And all of that I was, and like, once again, I understand what everybody's saying, but don't tell me what I can't do. You should say I shouldn't feel this way, but I can feel this way because I went through that experience. And people take things that happen to them differently. Like, he went through a traumatizing experience. He walked away from that with a different mindset than I did. And I'm a firm believer in the fact that, and I say this all the time, I don't think that black people should hurt black people. I feel that way.
I don't think people should hurt people.
And to add on to that, the obvious would be that. But because I am black, and because I live around blacks, and because I'm all black all the time, because I don't know what happens in the white world, I don't experience that. I'm speaking that way because that's what I know and that's what I've been growing up in. And so when I hear things like not everyone can and blah, blah, and this and that and the third, even when I look at Bowes Park now, people my age that I grew up with still live in Bowes Park because they want to live in Bowes Park. And the reason why I say they live there because they want to, no one knows my family, like my family upbringing and how I was raised and all of that. So I was a single parent household. Father left when I was young. Mom, hi mom, I don't want to put all your business out there, but I'm gonna just say this. I got out because I wanted to get out. No one grabbed my hand and said, son, let me show you what the world should be like for you at this age. I got out because I wanted to get out. So hearing not everyone can do it, I just don't subscribe to that because I did it for myself. And every time, like, I have to go back to Connecticut in September 5th. And when I tell you I do not want to go back because I have so much hatred towards that city, the fact that when I go back, I just feel like it's just taking like 1,000 steps backward because I'm going to see everyone that I grew up with that's going to still be there, not having anything accomplished in their lives whatsoever. And I'm going to be like, okay, why the hell did I come here? Oh, to visit my mom. I'm getting the fuck out of Dodge as soon as I land. Like, I'm not staying there for a week. I'm not staying there for 8 days. As soon as I get there, I'm ready to go. And so it's like, those feelings aren't going to go away. What I will say, what I've learned is to, if black people are walking towards me and I'm walking towards black people, I can go right through the black people and not be like, oh shit, I'm about to get robbed. I can say that. I've learned that, and I'm being funny, but I've learned that, okay? So I don't harbor those feelings everywhere I go now, but those feelings are deep rooted, and it's not something, and this happened 5-6 years ago, it's not something that's just gonna disappear.
What would you call that?
Therapy.
Would you say that's racism?
No, that's not racism. He has no.
I want to hear what he would call it, though.
Yeah.
What he would call it.
PTSD.
That would be, I guess that would be
and
that.
it needs to be treated because it sounds, listening to you, it does though. It takes therapy, and I went through therapy myself to handle because I was very angry. There was a very dark period, and people who know me now are like, oh, you're so kind, you're so nice. But that going through that period helped me see that it takes people to make change. It takes changing hearts and changing minds. Like you have to go through that and talk about it and get it out your system because it's gonna fester inside of you and make you hate things and people and it's just not healthy for you. And so I pray and I'll be wishing you well through that process because it is a hard process and it's hard to analyze those type of things and revisit. But seriously, like that requires some help. You know, we're not in this alone. The human connection is very powerful and important.
Excuse me.
Okay. Anything you want to add to that?
No.
Okay, so we'll pause. How you feeling, Levi? I see you like, I see you, y'all feel your face on me the whole time I'm talking. You like, I want to see what he's saying. What is he saying? I mean, hey, it is what it is. That's exactly how I felt. I was really, really angry.
At least it's past tense, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm with y'all, aren't I? But I mean, y'all don't necessarily fit the stereotype. But I can't say, and this is bad, but bold and blunt. I was at the gas station just yesterday, getting my gas or whatever, and I feel terrible saying this, but it's a conditioning of my mind now. There were two individuals at the gas station who fit the stereotype, and immediately my mind was just misplaced, and I was just like, okay, like, all right.
But you understand why that's bad.
I do.
There's white police that feel like that, like.
But
you fit their description.
But that's what I'm saying.
But here
and again, I think. Maybe I'm stretching. Maybe I'm putting too much faith.
It's a reach.
Hold on, wait. Maybe I'm putting too much faith in how I feel black people can be because of that concept, of that thought that this is how cops look at me. I'm thinking that we as a group should all do better, and we all should want to do better, so that that image, when we're dead and gone, can be gone for our kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just, maybe that's a dream. I don't know,
I think that people, depending on the situation that they're in, they prioritize their immediate needs. We have to think about food, water, shelter, things of that. When we have those things, then we can start to think about other things, and we can start to identify what family is, what friends are, what community means, what it means to be a part of society, how productive I can be a part in the democratic process, to be able to protest and feel like I can go about social change. That has to take place after I get food, shelter, and water. And I think that what you had said earlier about how you can't explain human behavior, like you can, and from their own mentality, I guess the point of view that you have is congruent with a lot of people who just kind of lock themselves away into this cataclysm of just, this is how I'm going to feel about people and situations based on how I have reacted and how things have played out in my life. So I don't even know if you could look at that as a space of mentality instead of reverting back to your specific situation and just thinking about the mentality of saying, well, this and that happened to me, so I'm going to forever feel like people outside of that should always react in this and that way. And we're trying to get people to open their minds. That's one thing about being a minority, being a group, that we need people to challenge their ways of thinking and begin to consider that there is another side to the story, that things can actually be explained. That the very human behavior that happened to you on a mental level, the thought processes that you have, you're trying to explain those.
I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just telling the story of what happened to me and what it is. So there's no trying. At the end of the day, I feel how I feel because I went through what I went through.
This is the thing. You're not disconnecting what you went through to the thought process that you have. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you're not.
Yeah. You're saying, I get why white folk don't want to really, or are afraid of black people because of this experience, versus saying, I had this experience, and just boxing it in and keeping that experience in itself. You've created an entire mentality, and you've almost given, permission for, this is the reason why I feel this way. Sorry, I was.
Well, I'm not saying it's okay, and I'm not.
You opened conduct the conversation by saying, I understand.
I understand, but is it okay? No, it's not okay. There's a difference, and you know the differences between things. Yes. Understanding something and then saying it's okay is two completely different things, okay? All I'm saying is that I get it. I get where the fear comes from, or potentially could come from, because I went through an experience where fear was created for me, and I am black. So that's all that I am saying.
But you can't
I also feel,
you didn't create.
I also feel
those two don't connect though. You can't.
How you telling me what connects with
those
me?
two don't connect because you're saying I get why white folk feel this way because I've had this one experience, and what we're saying is that those two can't connect. It's a learned behavior, and those two don't connect. The reason why those two don't connect is because you've never lived in a position of power where you have the opportunity and you've had resources and you had all of those things to be able to make that kind of connection that, oh, this is why. And also you're not understanding all of the things that go into how you got to being victimized. You're not in that same space. It's like me trying to, they don't fit. Those are two,
right.
Totally different concepts.
That's like your cousin stealing money from you, and you just saying that family is bad.
Right.
It's like family is bad because my cousin stole from me, and I wouldn't expect that. And if that happened to anybody in their life, and you take their mentality, put it in a situation. If David was up here and saying, you know, his cousin stole from him, so all family is bad, you would be like, come on now. Really? Your whole family's bad?
I think we need to be respectful of like Wes saying that he recognizes what made him feel the way that he felt or maybe still feels, and then just kind of like, I think like Larry says, like therapy would be a good place to start, because it is something, the mind, like I said, is a very powerful tool, and it's something that he's created. Like this experience stemmed from Morph created. It's been years and years and years, and we can't really sit around and like tell him how he should or shouldn't feel, because it's clear that that's how he does feel.
I mean, tomato, everybody has their opinion. I appreciate you actually for saying what you just said, because I do feel like because everyone else is black, they're just like, no, you can't. Wait, hold on.
We're not saying you can't
This is not a third.
We say we understand.
I was talking. So all I'm saying is, Levi, I appreciate you, because having said all that I've said, how I go about dealing with my day-to-day now is that when I do come across people of other races, I don't show them the stereotype. I actually like hanging around other individuals that don't promote the stereotype as well, because I feel that in order for me to live in a better space, I have to create that better space. And so it almost felt like a different person was talking first. Okay. But everyone knows why But at the same time, it's not going down one straight line. Like there's a lot of different variables that can get me to this viewpoint. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I went through this and I can only feel one way, but I don't understand what's going on over here. Like, I don't live like that. So yes, I went through what I went through, but I can also say what I just said, which is what I've been saying the whole entire episode. But because everyone else is black, y'all are hearing what y'all want to hear, and y'all are taking from it what y'all want to take from it.
That's not a black that everyone else is black. I didn't have an issue. Yeah. I just said I had a different experience, one. And two, the same way you just said those experiences, I'm just saying, and I agree with Levi saying, like, the mind is a thing. So when you talk about people not being able to make it out, like, your experience is a soul experience. You can't base you on everybody else. You can't place you like you're a prototype. So the people who live in your area, is like, you have to think about experiences. So what hurdles do they have to overcome to get out? And like, everybody has different hurdles in different situations. So it's when you think about that, like, I'll use myself. So I'll put myself out here. So when I left VA, everybody told me I wouldn't make it here in Atlanta. Everybody, my mom's friends, you're not gonna make it, you're not gonna go. So when I got here, the situation didn't work out, and I was actually homeless when I got here. you know, and I had so many different hurdles. But if I didn't have the strength that I had, and like getting shot and having to learn to walk again and having to go through that for like a year, it made me have more perseverance. So that experience prepared me for this. So sleeping on floors with no sheets, I'm like my jeans as a pillow. You know, I never thought I would be where I am. Like I'm gonna finish my doctoral degree. I came here with no degrees. Like I own a couple properties. I had nothing. I didn't even have a job when I came here. So if I subscribed to what everybody around me was telling me, I would have just went back home and lived with my parents and been in VA doing what I'm doing. And that's what happens to a lot of people. So that's just what I'm saying is like, don't say because I made it doesn't mean the next person can make it, because they don't have my same experiences.
But I'm also saying that you have the power to make it if you want to.
But you want to. Don't say that, because you don't know that. You don't know what they want though.
No.
That's an opinion. That's not a fact. You don't know what they want unless you have polled each of those people, because what you're doing is assuming, and you can't apply that to everybody, because you don't know their wants and goals. Like I might want to go to school, but my mother dies. So now I have to take care of my sisters and brothers. So I don't go to school. So I don't get a better job. But I do make sure that they're taken care of and they eat and we're not separated. But guess what? My whole trajectory in my life has changed. Or I'm traumatized because my uncle is killed in front of me. So I have that same experience that you have. So now I can't function in the world how other people function.
I want to, but I'm limited because of my experiences.
So true. I could think about like one thing I think about, like my best friend, Shanice, I love you, and I know that you would appreciate me telling your story for the purpose of this show. And she can sing her ass off. She can write music. She can rap. She is so talented on so many levels. And we went to high school together, but our circumstances were a lot different. With her, oh my goodness, like she had an abusive childhood where she had to move away to Colorado, and then she had to, then she ended up coming back, and she had to deal with the dissonance between her brother who was left there, and she, left him, and so how he felt about that, and that created a lot of tension and strife. And then she ended up living with her grandmother, but then her grandmother's children were not taking care of their mother, and so then my best friend felt like she had to step up and be able to do that. And so while I'm out here going to college, and while I'm out here moving,
all that talent
giving all that talent, you know what I'm saying? Like she did not have the space and the ability to do those things because she had to look out for grandma, and she had to look out for.
So she might still be there. Is the point what you're saying, right? So, right.
She had to look out. She has so much more weight on her that, and out of love, it didn't make her a bad person. My goodness, you know what I'm saying? There's people who will walk away and say, "Grandma, I don't know what you're gonna do," but she was like, I am going to step up and take care of this situation, and it does not make her any less of a giving person, any less of a person who has the capacity to love and be a big difference. It's just that the resources or the ability and reach that she has are to those immediate family needs at that point in time. And I think that you have a lot of people that have the same capacity to love and give purpose and stuff, but all of their mental energy is just spent right immediately around them.
So, like Olivia would say, let's be clear, okay? So let's be clear. I understand what everybody is saying. I completely get what everybody is saying. I'm just gonna say this, and this will be my last little tidbit. I don't think that anyone has an excuse to do harm to anyone else. So I'm not going to give those two black people an excuse for what they did. For the simple reason that you've gone through some traumatizing things, your friend has gone through some situations where she needed to have some life changes or life altering things, and now she has to live a certain way. Everybody goes through things, but that doesn't give you the reason or an excuse to harm or hurt or take away from someone else who just may be going through or a similar situation as you. So let's be clear. I understand what everybody's saying.
No one was excusing the behavior. What I was attempting to articulate was...
Attempt, good word.
because you're unable to grasp the concept.
No, I grasp all day long.
Clearly not. So, what?
We're talking about a concept. That's the thing, and I think everyone's trying to say.
But I was talking. So what I am saying is, I understand where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. I'm not excusing the behavior. I am saying perhaps it might be helpful for you to look outside of what actually happened, the circumstance of what happened, and think of what brought me here, what brought these two people here, what was the environment that brought these people here, so that I can perhaps try my very best not to be in this environment again, or I can get into a space of forgiveness, not forgetfulness. Nobody wants you to forget what actually happened, but we want you to get to a place where you can say, you know what, that happened to me. That has made me this person today. I would have to say that you're better for it. You're better for it because you're understanding, okay, we're having this conversation, you're actually sitting in front of people who can actually help you get to the next space. So even having all of that trauma allows you to be better for the situation that has happened to you. I mean, I'm all about, forgiveness. I'm not asking you to forget nothing. And I'm saying it's important not to create this entire concept, like I get why white people, are scared of black people. That's just two different concepts. That is what I am saying. I'm not saying that what happened, you shouldn't think whatever way you think. I'm saying that those two ideas are very separate from one another. Okay. Also, I think, I wasn't done. Also, I think that what is most important is that everyone at this table, including myself, start to open up your circle, because a part of why everything else is happening is because we don't know each other. So y'all two long-winded asses is gonna sit here and try to cut in on me.
I just want you to respect.
We sat here and talked about the girlfriend that's the homie, and it talked about she's so talented.
So go ahead.
And y'all like coming in. That ain't cute.
Mindset. Go ahead. Wrap it up.
My wrapping up it.
Okay, that was a set.
My wrap up is, I think everybody, in order for us to actually heal and get to this point, because now, yes, I will give you my wrap up for the whole segment. Boom. The way that we can actually get to a place of advancement, progressiveness, and peace is if at least every single one of us learn to know someone outside of your community. So learn straight folks. Do you have some straight friends? Do you have some white friends? Do you have some Asian friends? Do you have some Polynesian friends? Whatever, you need to expand your circle and get to know them, and then say, hey, look, you're my first white friend, and I just help me out. Help me, challenge me on the things that I should and should not know about your experiences. I'm not asking you to speak for your whole community, but I am asking you to just help me so I can learn you and I can learn more about those communities. That's how we actually get to a progressive state, because everyone at this table and everyone that's watching, I don't care, y'all all prejudiced and have biases, and if you're white, you're racist, sorry. That's just the reality of what it is. We all are. Every single one of us are. So let's challenge those by getting to know one another so that we can move past these prejudices, biases, and racist thoughts.
You have a quick wrap up, or are you good?
Yeah, I just think that when it comes to behavior beyond race, beyond if you're white, it means this. I think that there's a probability distribution when it comes to a lot of different circumstances, and that the likelihood of you making it out the hood, the likelihood of you having a family that is supportive of your beliefs, and the likelihood of the violence that's happening around you, being a white person or a black person, or there's a certain probability that, given a certain set of circumstances, that you are going to get an outcome. And yes, there will be outliers. There are going to be Oprahs. There are going to be people who step out, you know what I'm saying, despite the, but you can't give an Oprah antidote to amass a distribution of people who are going to be predisposed to a certain outcome most of the time. And that is just based on resources. I mean, you think about, there's always people knowing that one or two white people that grew up in the hood and they hip to everything, you know what I'm saying? And so it's not so much the fact that they're white, it's the fact that where they were grown up, you know, so I just want to...
So I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Culture Club. This has been a very interesting discussion, as it is always. If you have not told your auntie, your nieces, your nephews, your cousins, your uncles, your baby mama, your baby daddy about Culture Club, definitely tell them. We need this to become a bigger, more widespread platform. Shout out to the crew in Florida that want to do a test video shoot for a Florida version of Culture Club. The fact that you guys even want to add on to that is amazing. But I definitely need you guys, and I challenge you guys to become a notification squad and definitely support and promote Culture Club within your community. Love you. Thank you. Deuces.